You are listening to Girls, Ghosts, and Ghouls, a showcase of specters, spirits, and spooks, as well as the women who love them. Only on ZTO TV Podcasts.
Timely, topical, and terrifying.
I think that I am familiar with the fact that you are going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you on the ass.
I used to hate the water. I can't imagine why. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Girls Ghosts Ghouls, which actually this is take 2 of an episode because we tried it once before and had technical difficulties where you can only hear one of us speaking. So
the audio was bad.
It might have been also that we were drunk and just speaking to our imaginary friends. Can't really say.
Entirely possible.
But this episode is Jaws, because Jaws, and you know, July is when it came out way back in 1975, and it's August now, but we originally were recording in July. So
I really missed my chance for this to get like a little shark bathtub toy or something and just have it going across the screen.
I deliberately didn't do that because you know how I don't behave well. If I had a little shark toy, you would just see me like going.
I have a tiny Nosferatu from the last one, but I don't have a tiny shark. And I was already lamenting the fact that I have on T-Rex earrings, but I don't own shark earrings, which I'm going to remedy, but it's not in time. So
yeah. Alas.
I do have Jaws about to bite off my head though, so there's that. Well, actually that's Bruce, but all right. So
I have seaweed colored hair. That kind of counts.
There we go. So Jaws, if you have never seen Jaws, I don't know where you have spent your life.
You've been hiding under a rock.
What you've been doing with it. But it is an epic film from 1975. And, you know, the only other epic thing that came out in 1975 was me. But
hey,
all right, maybe Rebecca, but, you know, my shit was epic. I had to be cut out, okay?
I was born 3 months early and only weighed like 1 pound, 12 ounces.
Yeah, I wasn't coming out. They had to cut me out.
You were the smart one. I was like, oh, maybe there's something cool out here. I'll show up early. You were like, nah, this is bullshit.
No.
I'm saying it. Fuck you.
So meanwhile,
I wasn't alive in 1975. I'm just
Betsy, we know.
You were a thought.
I was a glimmer.
Mom's like, I haven't made that bad decision yet. I will. Not you, but the father.
Not wrong. Not wrong.
Both my parents had bad decisions. I was a bad decision, but anyway. So Jaws is a lovely tale about a monster-sized killer great white shark that terrorizes Amity Island, an island off of New York. Its whole economy is based on summer tourism. And as a result, you can kind of see a lot of interesting analogies to today. Because of economy and disasters and what people do that or don't do that they should, shall we say.
Yeah, there's some parallels to this for sure. I'm not gonna wear a mask. Okay, that's fine, but you're gonna potentially.
I'm not gonna stay out of the ocean just because there's a killer shark. Whatever.
Munch,
Only
munch,
one girl
munch.
died.
Nobody I know got ate by the shark. Sorry, it was bad. Okay.
It's only one little bite.
It's just a dog that disappeared.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. We open up and there's like a bunch of college age kids, is the assumption, in the happy 1970s gear, having a bonfire on the beach, getting drunk off their asses, because that's what you do actually when you're on a beach with a bonfire.
I suppose I've never been on a beach with a bonfire.
No, me neither.
I honestly don't get drunk off my ass unless I'm in my basement with my friends during historical virtual experiences, but that's a whole other story. But when I'm out public with people I don't know that well, you will not see me get drunk off my ass because, you know, shark attacks. That's what I'm afraid of.
It could happen.
Yeah. The least likely thing.
Sharknado.
But so they're drunk. Lovely young college girl decides this is the perfect time to go take a swim. Of course, without clothes on because you don't want to get your clothes dirty. And if you're on a beach, having a bonfire, having a swimsuit on is just not something you do. I don't know. But I mean, whatever.
can't- Poor Chrissy. She just
Yeah.
made all the bad decisions.
She did.
Of course, she does have a companion running alongside her who is, well, I shouldn't say alongside her, trying to run alongside her. Who's so drunk he can't really run. He's just stumbling.
He's kind of
confessing that he's
over.
not drunk or protesting that he's not drunk.
Yeah.
But
I'm not drunk.
I'm not drunk as he's
I
trying to
can
get out of his
swim.
clothes and falling.
I can swim, I just can't walk.
Look,
Yeah. So
he
yeah,
pretty much passes out.
yeah, he
forgiven.
passes out trying to take his shoes and or pants off. Well, you know,
Something
Chrissy
like that,
just
yeah.
strips naked in a second, and she's off in the water. And of course, she's off in the water, and what should happen? But done it,
Dun-it,
done it,
dun-it.
done it, done it, done it, done it, done it.
And well, you don't see any of this. It's just a dun dun
Yep.
Mhm.
and then a whole lot of
You
feet.
just hear Chrissy screaming, thrashing around in the water. Now, interesting fun facts about this. This poor actress, who also I believe was a stunt woman as well, had to be weighted down with weights
Oh,
to get the
Lord.
effect. And they were like pulling the weights from side to side. So you get this terrible thrashing effect that you see. So she was, you know, pretty much hurting by the time they were done doing all the takes for that scene.
It was so
And,
traumatizing.
Huge
That
props
had
to
to-
her because she looks like she's
Yeah.
like this big around, and they were like putting like huge ass weights on.
Yeah, and that's got to be disconcerting. You know, okay, we're gonna put weights on you and drag you around in the water,
I
in the
am
ocean.
traumatized
What?
for her?
Yeah, I know. It's just like,
Can we do this
Sounds
on
like-
in a pool and a green screen? No, we're gonna do it in the ocean.
are you going to
Okay.
drown me? Do you think I'm a witch? Why are we doing this?
Do you guys have rescue divers? I'm just asking.
But it's an excellent scene. She does an amazing job in
Oh, absolutely.
of being in pain and
Mhm.
terror, probably because she was really, in fact, in pain and terror. And yeah, so she disappears under the water. Cut to the next morning, we have Brody, our chief of police, who left New York City because, as he reveals later on, he couldn't make a difference there.
Yeah,
There's just too much crime, too much violence. But on Amity Island, one person can make a difference. So he, you know, he packs up the family. He's got the wife and 2 boys, and they're going to have this peaceful, easy, well, I shouldn't say peaceful, easy life, but they're going to have a much less crime-filled life where he can actually make an impact, and, you know, on the
Let's-
lovely island of
and-
Amity.
And let's preface this: he hates water, hates being on
Yes.
boats.
Fascinatingly enough, the island is not a vantage for him because I don't think they explain. Is it just he fears drowning? Do they ever?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a scene later. I got this thing. There's this thing called what is it called? Drowning? Yeah,
Yeah.
drowning.
So yeah, he fears drowning. So he doesn't like boats. He doesn't like water. He doesn't swim, which seems like you would want to learn to swim.
If you're gonna live on an island, it would
Well, if you
seem
want
highly.
to not drown, learning to swim is a good move towards not drowning. I mean, you can still drown if you know how to swim, but it's less
Oh, yeah.
likely.
Yeah.
Just,
I
you
am-
know.
I will be the first to admit that I am crappy in water, but I can swim. But please don't make me do it.
That's okay. We can float around on the lazy river. We'll be fine.
I'm down. I'm down. Yeah, I can do it. I just hate it. So
No, I love it. You can stick me in the water. I'll be there for hours. It's fine. But, you know, Brody doesn't like it. He gets mocked about it throughout the movie. It's pretty funny. They're like, what is wrong with you? He's like, oh, I'm going to be on that. But so he gets the call that there's this missing girl, him and the kid, the drunk boy who passed out on the beach, where we have to give drunk boy props because he didn't just go,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder where she went. Her clothes are here. Maybe she just took off. He went to the
She must
cops.
have ran.
He was like,
Yeah.
some shit happens. We need to find out what happened to Chrissy. So yeah, they're trolling around the beach. Brody's pretty much not taking it very seriously because he's thinking, the girl apparently just left her clothes and her purse behind and took
Yeah.
off running naked around the island and nobody's noticed. So we have to take some points away from Brody for that because he was just thinking it couldn't possibly be.
He's
anything
not.
serious.
He's not thinking. No, girl. Yeah. You may leave your clothes behind, but you ain't gonna leave your purse behind.
Well, also, if you didn't have, I'm like, I don't think you would even leave your clothes behind.
No.
Like, you know,
If you're gonna try not to, but it's
Arguably,
depending on the situation.
there is
Yeah.
some naked girl with no ID somewhere.
Yeah.
seems a bad theory is and nobody knows. That's the one thing that you're like, nobody noticed naked girl running amok. Nobody.
I feel like they would have. Maybe.
Yeah. Small island. Somebody's gonna
Yeah.
notice.
Naked women tend to draw attention. clothed women, we can get ignored a lot. But, if we're running around naked, somebody's going to say something. Just happens usually. But anyway, as we're walking around the beach, we see here I shouldn't call it this, but every time I hear it, it just sounds like it makes me think of rape whistle. You know how they used to use that for self-defense. Whistle if someone's trying to rape you. But anyway, or whistle trying to draw attention, and it's the deputy, I assume. I don't think they really say what his rank is.
I was going to say
deputy.
He's some kind of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Who's almost the most useless deputy on the earth, but we'll get to that. But at this point, he's done his job. He's found body pieces. So he's, whistling away. And they come up on him. I have to give the actor some credit. He does a really good job of being like, not over the top, but clearly very nauseated and fucked up at what he found without like overdoing it.
I just threw up, but I'm trying to hide it. Kind of a vibe, real good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's he's
can't
like,
look at it, just sort of collapses down, but not like just, overly dramatic collapse.
Yeah, he's just kind of hoping nobody's gonna notice how he looks.
Green.
Very, very green. Yeah.
A little.
So they find pieces of Chrissy and they know something bad happened. And then you have this rather frantic scene later on where you have Brody in his small little police station. And I don't know, Grandma Maybell there, that's his secretary. That's not her name, but she's just...
That's who we're going to call her.
Grandma Mabel.
Yeah. Who's probably been working there since she graduated from high school.
Very chill, kind of momming them like, what's this? And, Brody's like, you can't keep we have no filing system. Just put pending only on my desk now. While he's typing at the old ass typewriter, manual.
I also like that he is literally like,
hunting and pecking. Yeah.
Like, oh.
Which is actually the death certificate. Which is interesting to me. Well, I guess maybe it's more of a police report because he shouldn't be filling out.
He's filling out the police report based on the information that the coroner gives him.
And the coroner calls him, or the medical examiner calls him, as he's typing. And basically, he's like, "Really? Okay, what?" And then he types in "cause of death, shark attack." Then he immediately hits the panic button, which I don't think he was wrong for doing.
No, obviously, I mean,
he has you
have a shark that just killed somebody on your shoreline.
So he's talking to Deputy Useless and is like, "Hey, where do we keep the closed beach signs?" And the deputy's like, "I don't think we have any of those.
I don't know. We never used them before," is what he says.
So Brody runs to the hardware store where there's a weird ass conversation about, a guy who not one thing he ordered is in the store or something. Well, Brody's panicking and grabbing and knocking things over. Basically, it looks like he's doing a kid's art project so he can make signs that say closed beach. And
he looks like he's trying to run, like, to prep for the zombie apocalypse, only, just frantically grabbing a little bit of everything.
A poster board, wooden stakes, and paintbrushes. And of course, Deputy Useless pulls up and he's like, "Here's stuff, go make beach signs." And well, he actually had Deputy Useless go look up what was going on in the water, what activities, so he can stop them. And they find out that like the Boy Scouts are doing like their 100-yard swim or whatever.
Mile swim or something. I don't know.
Qualify for a badge.
Some indeterminate swim for a badge. Yeah.
But somehow they can't get a hold of them because they're already out on the water, which seems kind of strange to me. Like I would think there'd be a CB radio that they could have gotten them on.
If it's a small boat, not necessarily.
Yeah, but you have a whole bunch of kids swimming in the water.
This is the 1970s. We were lucky to had a boat.
I'm still going to say they would have to have some way in case there was an emergency. But anyway, they don't. So somebody has to go out and get them and all this fun stuff. And meanwhile, in the process of all this, the city fathers, I don't know, councilman, the mayor, whatever, they pretty much.
The mayor and the councilman, it looked like.
Yeah, they ambush Brody and they're like, so we want to kind of maybe stop you from making a big career mistake early on here. You can't just close the beaches. There's procedures. And, Brody's like, well, what are they? And he's like, well, you gotta, and, plus, the whole economy is based on summer tourism and the beaches. So, maybe you're jumping the gun here. And Brody's like, shark ate girl. And then the medical examiner's like, well, maybe it wasn't a shark attack.
Yeah, the ME pretty much folds on that one
completely.
Like it's stacked cards.
A boat.
Yeah, a broke propeller. Just chopped her up.
Very, very funny crescent-shaped bites, from that boat propeller there.
It was a boat propeller with teeth. It was a teethy boat propeller.
There we go. It was a serrated boat propeller.
It was
So
made of
Brody's
dye.
like, okay, I'm fine. It's a propeller attack. Well, that's not what you told me. And then he's like, well, da, 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 da. I said maybe it was a shark attack.
I do appreciate that Brody goes, will you stand by that?
Yeah.
And he says, yeah. Because Brody's like, okay, I'll let you do that, but you said that.
Yeah.
You're the one who said, oh, no, not a shark attack, boat propeller. It's not me. I'm not taking the fault for it. Of course, Brody takes the fault
Of
for it.
course, he takes the fault for it,
Oh, yeah.
But he was trying to cover his ass. He just
he tried.
got guilty because he knew,
But he tried.
But yeah, he tried. So they don't close the beach. And meanwhile, the beaches are open. Everybody's on the beaches. People are all swimming. Of course, Brody's kids are swimming. His wife's, there with him. And, a few people keep mocking him about not being in the water.
And some guy's trying to talk to him, and he's very clearly doing the
What's
look
going on in the
around.
water?
Yeah, look around, trying to keep an eye on things. And his vigilance pays off as after you see
it pays off.
Well,
He's doing it good.
he saw it and unfortunately couldn't do anything about it.
I would say it was vindicated,
Yeah.
Warranted,
That's a
actually
better
warranted
choice.
might be a better word. His vigilance was warranted, but it ultimately didn't.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, you have this nice little scene where all the kids are playing in the water. One little kid comes up to his mom, is like, "Hey, can I grab my raft to go back in?" And she's like, "You're all pruny." He's like, "Ma." So she's like, "Okay." Foreshadowing, right? And then you have a guy on the beach with a cute little dog that he's like throwing the stick in the water, and the dog's swimming out. Dog's name is Pippin. We will always remember Pippin. Pippin, you have not been forgotten.
Rest in peace, Pippin.
Because Pippin just disappears.
And they don't show anything.
You just see the stick floating in the water and no more happy little Pippin.
And the guy calling out, trying to find his dog.
It never, ever, ever gets resolved. Sadly. Poor Pippin. But they do show Alex Kittner getting eaten to pieces. And Alex Kittner is a little kid who came up on the beach to ask his mom if he can go back in the water with her.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I think Steven Spielberg understood that people would be fatter about the dog
than they would about the kid. Yeah.
Yes.
Because you see the kid, he's floating and playing on his raft, and all of a sudden the shark just pretty much comes up and is back down.
I was gonna say, and then there's blood.
And then there's
the
blood
you don't
in the
really
water.
see Alex get masticated. You just see kind of like a little hint of a shark and then blood in the raft getting smushed.
Yep.
It's not,
and it's so
it's really
quick.
not a graphic movie.
It's not.
No,
I actually really like the way they shot that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is pretty much sharks there, sharks gone.
Yeah.
And you're like,
did you really see a shark? Because it was just a little hit.
Yeah.
You just got the nice little dun
which may be a good time to bring up. They had planned to use the mechanical shark a lot more in this film.
They had, I think, actually a couple animatronic sharks made.
Okay. I knew of at least I knew of one. I wasn't sure if they had another one, but they kept breaking.
Yeah, they kept breaking, and Spielberg, actually there were several shots with them that never made it into the movie with the animatronic shark because Spielberg just thought it looked fake as hell, and he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing this."
Oh.
So the end result was a much more suspenseful movie because you just don't see the shark until the last half hour, really.
That's true. That's true.
And actually, Rebecca, the article you shared with the group when I was reading through it, here's a fact that they put in there was that the original plan was to train a real great white shark.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. They were like, "Oh, can we train a real one?"
What? And they found out not really possible to do.
Holy shit.
So animatronics it was.
In the history of bad ideas, I want to know what the reaction was when some producers are sitting around a table going, "Okay, it's about a shark. All right, well, can we train a shark?" And I want to know just what the looks on the faces of the other people.
So what?
Could we just train a shark? And you know what's sad is it was probably like the insurance guy who went,
"What? No,
no, yeah, do that."
I can see it when they try to pitch that to the insurance guy, and the insurance is just like,
He wants it still
hey,
made because
that's a great joke, but wait, what?
Y'all are
No,
funny.
you're serious? No.
I would like to see, there had to be at least two people in the room that, like, when they heard that, they're like, you know what? I'm not even going to explain how stupid this is. But yeah, so that was under serious consideration until they found out everything.
Seriously hardcore dude who's like, yeah, it's gonna be so cool. He'll be our pet. We'll name him Bruce.
It was probably the actor Shaw who played Quint. He probably was like, yes, trade a shark.
We'll do that. Sure.
I mean, it's worth noting that Shaw was rarely ever sober, so he probably would have been all for it. But at any rate, so you don't see Bruce, the animatronic shark, which Bruce was named Bruce because Spielberg named him after his attorney. And a fun fact
I love that.
Rebecca, you brought up about Finding Nemo, right? That's why was it you? About why they named the shark Bruce? Or
I don't think it was me. It was Betsy.
I think it was me. But yeah, the shark from Finding Nemo.
There you go.
That is fish are friends, not food, is named Bruce because of this movie.
Yeah.
Our people love horror movies.
So So there's a tie-in from Finding Nemo. Bruce is named after the animatronic shark Bruce, who's behind me trying to eat my head. So it's a really great suspense. I mean, I really I loved how that came out. It, accidentally or not, it worked out really well for the movie, in my opinion, where you just don't see it. And I think the more you would have seen the animatronic shark, the worse it would have been. So,
it would have been sort of the equivalent of, the guy in the rubber suit. I think the mystery of what you don't see is always more terrifying than the reveal.
Oh yeah.
And
it allows the music to do the heavy lifting, and let's be honest, the music does the heavy lifting.
Which another fun fact was when Spielberg first heard the score, he laughed and thought it was a joke. He didn't think it was, and later, obviously, he admitted it made the movie really. It was a key factor to the movie being so successful was this awesome score that he originally was like, okay, is this what we're doing? All right.
Yeah, you've got to be joking, John. No.
Okay, John
trust
Williams.
Trust John Williams when he is doing your score. He's going to come up with the right thing.
Knows his shit. So yeah, it's an iconic score. You may never have seen Jaws, but I'm sure you've heard done it, done it, done it, done it.
Done it, done
it. Yep. So there you have it. But Alex Kittner is dead. They decide to close the beach. Well, they tell Brody that they're going to close the beach, and you have this big old town meeting where they discuss it. And when and before I forget, Mrs. Kittner puts out a reward. I believe it's $3,000 for basically the proof that the shark was killed that ate her son.
Yep. Which I think we worked it out that it was 25,000 ish, something like that in today's money. Yeah.
Serious money. Back in 1975, $3,000 was a big town meeting where basically, everybody's panicked, or you can't close the beaches. You can't close the beaches. The economy, it's where we make money. And yes, so before we make light of this is true. I mean, these people's whole businesses rely on the fact that summer tourism. So if they miss a week, it's basically, 2 months, of no business.
It's a big setback.
Yeah.
They have, roughly 3 months where they make their money. And if, they're closed, they don't get that money. So when you think about it in terms of the pandemic, you see, similar issues. Close down things, for a month or 2 months, and that's people's businesses, especially your small business owners. And the travesty of it is that, if we had a country that we lived in that would supplement for emergencies like that, then the choice wouldn't be keep your business afloat and possibly die so you don't keep your business afloat. Or, close your business and not die possibly, or get severely sick with long hauler symptoms that last for the rest of your life. I mean, you could then say, we can supplement you while we get this under control.
Yeah, we'll keep you afloat until we deal with the situation.
But yeah, capitalism at its finest, guys. So, I just want to put that out there not because I want you to believe my criticism, but just so you know that we understand that it's not light. the whole fact that they wouldn't close the beach, the whole fact that they, people were fearing having their businesses closed during the pandemic. It's a huge deal. It's a big deal. But meanwhile, the reality of it in this movie and the reality in the pandemic is who dies at what price.
Yeah.
So right now, we have Alex Kintner who died that we know of. We know Chrissy died, but Chrissy died before we knew it was a problem. So, and Pippin who died, which,
So
nobody mentions, but
2.5.
we know.
Yeah.
We know
Pippin died. So the meeting happens. They announced that, yes, they're going to close the beaches. Everybody's freaked the fuck out because they're like, you can't close it. And then somebody was like, oh, the mayor, the lovely mayor was like, well, we're just closing it 24 hours.
24 hours.
And Brody's like, what? This is not what we said. I'm like, no, just 24 hours. And they're like, even then, though, everybody's still panicked. That's a whole day without money, without economy there. But, truthfully, I'm guessing at that point, that's a whole day where everybody's doing indoor stuff that's already on the island. But they also, keep in mind, there's a ferry going back and forth from the mainland and stuff like that. So it's not like everybody's staying on the island and trapped there to do stuff. They can just leave the island and go to another beach. And that's why everybody's afraid. They're like, then these people are going to go to these other beaches instead. So they shut down the beach, and then it's just havoc. All these people are coming from out of town, from off the island.
One second before we leave the meeting.
Oh, yes.
Quint. Oh,
how could we forget? Go, Betsy. Tell the tale.
So there's nails on a chalkboard, which is a horrendous sound on video or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I had literal nails on chalkboard, folks.
I had to mute that when I've watched it at home.
And it's Quint. And Quint is played by Robert Shaw. And he's a grizzled, boat captain. And he's basically like, I'll kill your shark. Pay me $10,000.
And to be clear, this is what Quint does. Quint just hunts sharks.
Yeah, he is a shark hunter. This is his job.
I believe the line is, you know who I am, you know what I do.
Exactly.
Great line.
You know who I am,
yeah.
You know what I do, $10,000. And I'll take care of your problem. And they're like, uproar. And he's like, you know where to find me. And walks out. And you're like, oh dear. Well, that's a colorful character. I bet he returns. He does.
Boy, does he.
And then some, yeah. Well, we'll be mentioning the actor Shaw throughout this because he's quite a character.
Yep.
Yeah. But so now it's the next day, and there's Brody and the deputy's almost not to be seen, all of the docks, and you just see there's just chaos. There's all these people loading on boats, overloading boats, people that are trying to walk onto the boat with dynamite to go hunt for the shark with it. Brody's trying to get some order. Nothing's happening. Meanwhile,
it's like watching a bunch of rednecks, grab their beer and whatnot and get on the boats. And you can tell they've already been partaking of plenty of the beer. And you're like, what could possibly go wrong?
Drunk, just not thinking. And this is when
shark hunting is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
With dynamite.
Any hunting is just better done while drunk. Nothing could go wrong there. It's fine. Meanwhile, Richard Dreyfuss's character now arrives. Matt Hooper, who is somebody from the Oceanographic Institute. Sorry, I was trying to get out the word oceanographic and I was having issues with that. He arrives and he's looking around at this chaos like this.
He's like,
so many shades of stupid.
I think I actually had asked him, hey, tell those guys to stop what they're doing. And he's like, hey, the chief said to stop. And the guys are like, oh, we'll be fine. And Hooper's just like, you're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Whatevs.
So Hooper's trying to talk to Brody. He doesn't know who he is yet. He just knows he's somebody with an officer's uniform, and he's trying to get to Chief Brody, who he was already next to, but he's, following him around, trying to weave his way through the chaos. Brody ends up in the little dock office, and Hooper's like, well, he stops to talk to Deputy Useless, and this is why I call him Deputy Useless. So there's all this chaos going on these docks, and here's the deputy who's a native islander, right? Who's just smoking a cigarette, watching the stupid, not trying to stop anybody from carrying dynamite onto boats, for putting 10 people on a small little skiff, nothing, just smoking a cigarette, watching the show. And Brody's like, hey, I forgot this deputy's name.
I think Deputy Useless is
pretty
actually
appropriate.
very accurate.
Completely acceptable.
He's like, hey, Deputy Useless, will you talk to these people? These are your people. And Deputy Useless is like, no, they're from out of town and stuff. Do you see the license plates? And like Brody's like, well, Hooper comes in. He's like, yeah, those people on that boat that you tell me to talk, they're not going to make it out of the bay.
They're going to die.
Yeah.
And Brody goes to Deputy Useless. This is what I'm talking about. You know these people's first names. Go talk to them. And Deputy Useless is like, okay. I was like, you know, you got to feel for Brody. This was.
Oh yeah, he's trying. He is legitimately trying to do what is right. And
there's no help. Like he's got no help.
Nope.
None whatsoever.
Man is working alone.
So at this point, Hooper's like, I'm looking for Chief Brody. Brody's like, you found him. Who are you? He's like, I'm the dude from the Oceanographic Institute. And then Brody's like, thank God, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody who's gonna listen to me.
Competence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like instant rapport between these two characters. Now, there's a lot of theories behind this because they're both not islanders, so they're looking at the rest of the island like filled with stupid people. Also, because they are able to think outside and logically and not panic because their money is not at stake, their lives aren't at stake, right? So these people could just focus on facts, right? Hooper and Brody, the skin in the game is just to do the right thing for them, because they're not going to have their business collapse, not have food, go homeless. None of that's going to happen from shutting down the beaches for them. So they can just think in terms of, what do we do that's right to stop the shark attacks?
Yeah. What's for the greater good?
Yeah. So, which, you know, it's funny because when you watch this movie, or at least usually when I was watching this movie, I just kept thinking, why are these townspeople so stupid? Is it inbreeding? And it might be some of that, sure, but it really is like, you know, they have different things that are going through their mind that they're relying on. These other people don't have these worries.
Right.
You know, I mean, Brody ends up, if the island goes bankrupt, Brody's going to find another job as a cop somewhere else.
Well, and you start to realize that not all of the townspeople think the same way that the like city leaders do and the business owners do, but they're not the money. They're not the affluence, and they don't have the influence to do anything about it. So,
I mean, the whole scene with Alex's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah,
we're not there yet, but yes, exactly. Yeah.
So,
not everybody. It's
right,
weird.
but then, you know, before we get there, the question is, you know, if it wasn't her kid that died, would she
care?
You know,
she
may not have, who knows, if she had a business she was owning, she might have been not behind closing the beaches had her kid not died. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the thing, until it happens to you, and this is almost anybody, you always think it can't happen to you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
first thought isn't going to be like, I'm the one who's going to lose a kid to a shark attack, or, you know, I'm the one who's going to get sick from COVID and be on a ventilator for 6 months.
Yeah.
No, you don't think that. You think it's somebody else.
You're going to play the odds. Yeah,
it's
you're
not
going to play the odds.
So, meanwhile, this all happens. Brody and Hooper start hooking up. There's, you know, talk. Hooper's basically like, okay, Brody's like, what can I do for you? And like, what do you need? And Hooper's like, well, I need to look at the first victim, which is funny because it's the only victim they have at this point in time. Like, it's not the only person that was killed. It's the only actual evidence, physical, of the kill. Because Kittner apparently got swallowed whole. You don't see any body parts from him. Pippin, the dog, never seen again, swallowed whole. So again, no evidence, right? So there's just Chrissy's body that is a propeller boat, not a shark attack, right? But Hooper goes to look at it, and this is funny because I'm terrible and it's not real. But you know, then he goes and he pulls out of the freezer, because you can't really call it like the plastic storage tote that.
It's like he's pulling out a Rubbermaid tub that is like maybe half the size of one of those underbed storage tubs.
Yeah, like not even.
Yeah.
Throw some of your kids' bathtub toys in it. You know, it pops it on the examining table, and like you just pull back a little plastic tarp over it, and you just kind of see like a hand sticking out. You know, because they just have some pieces of it, like a bit of a torso, an arm,
the arm. Yeah.
You know, and you know, Hooper, who like pulls it back, just like, can I get some water, please? And cleans his glasses, and then he's all set to deal with it.
He does a
Good
fine
recovery.
job for somebody who's probably not used to facing human corpses.
But he examines it, and he's like, looks at the ME and is like, you know damn well this is a shark attack.
Yeah.
He doesn't put it that way, but he looks disgusted. The ME looks very embarrassed, as he should.
Yeah.
To say, the Emmy does look like
He does. You
Yeah,
see him kind of
I
like
did a
look
bad-
down, and he's very
Ashamed.
clearly,
He's ashamed, and he should be,
yes.
because he knew it was a shark attack. He never had a doubt, and he,
Yeah.
capitulated with the whole propeller thing to save the economy. But and Hooper just looks just abject disgust on his face at this ME, like, look, like
Yeah.
how could you?
you're
So-
a doctor.
Right.
Scientific integrity is important.
But the economy. So, yeah. We get back to the docks, and everybody's excited because there was a shark. They killed a shark. They captured it. They brought it in. They're hooking it up by its tail. Another fun fact about the movie, that in that scene was an actual dead shark that somebody killed off the coast of Florida, and then they shipped it up to, where were they, Maine, I believe, where they filmed this?
That would make sense.
Somewhere up northeast coast.
New England, wherever they filmed it.
I was gonna say somewhere.
I thought they
Maine,
filmed.
Massachusetts, somewhere
I
there.
thought they filmed off of Martha's Vineyard.
That could be it. Which I'm not entirely sure what Martha's Vineyard is. I'm very poor.
Massachusetts.
Thank you. Massachusetts. Like, you have to be more specific. I'm like, I've heard of Martha's Vineyard. I never really thought about where it's actually located. This place is rich people go.
Close enough for rich people to go to.
Yeah. I like to avoid rich people. I mean, if they gave me money, I wouldn't avoid them, but they don't, so I avoid them. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we have this dead shark that they brought up from Florida that apparently they had great difficulty transporting up to Massachusetts, Maine, wherever the hell they were filming, in the ocean. And it was fairly into the decomposition process by the time it got there. And they hung it up. And like what made it even worse was because it was decomposing so much, like all its organs had, like when they flipped it up and hung it by its tail, the organs kind of came down to the mouth. And so you can imagine how horrific the smell was to be around it. So props to Richard Dreyfuss for the scene where he's like measuring the mouth and getting up personal.
Oh my god, that's
Really not having, and the scene where they later do the necropsy to try to, well, I guess you really couldn't call it a full necropsy, but when they eviscerate it to see what the stomach contents are, because I'm sure that
I just wondered if they were using like the actual shark for that scene or if they used a fake one for that.
They probably
that
didn't
part.
have like the cut open with the goo coming out, but I think the corpse of the shark was still there.
Yeah.
But I don't think they actually cut it open in them.
Yeah, in all his odoriferousness.
Because I don't think any actor would or any person, like, I don't know how much you'd have to pay me to be like, yes, a shark that's been decomposing for weeks, I'm going to cut open and let its goo spill on me. That'd be a lot of money for me to do.
I'm just about retching thinking about it.
Yeah,
And honestly,
a lot of money. And then I would immediately jump into the ocean and get the shark.
thinking about that scene, there isn't a lot of goo.
No.
Like there's like wet, and then
Like, you're not really seeing anything in it.
No,
It's more sloosh, but
so I'm gonna guess they made up a fake thing for him to cut into, because
like some
if I
sack
were
or
him,
something.
no.
But we're jumping a little ahead. So
Yeah,
they
a little
catch the shark. Everybody's excited. Dang it, the shark's dead. Ding dong.
We got it.
We can open the beach back up. Yay! And Dreyfuss is like, I don't think that's a shark. I'm not saying it's not the shark. I'm saying it may not be the shark.
Not be.
Though he knows it's not the shark. He's like,
He absolutely knows it's not the shark.
He's
But
trying
he's
to
not-
prevaricate in the hopes that they might actually listen. Because
Yeah,
if he flat out tells them, y'all done fucked up, that's not it, they're going to be like, oh, you didn't know what you're talking about.
Right. So, but meanwhile, while all this is happening, Mrs. Kittner comes up in her funeral garb. And the thing to notice about this is like, so the actress, Lee Fieri, I think it is,
I believe you're correct.
Yeah. She was actually a novice actress. This is like one of the first movies she was in, and probably I think one of the only movies she was in. She didn't do much, if I recall, but feel free to look that up and check.
I'm checking.
But this is one of her like debut. Well, may not be the debut, but it was one of her first performances. So was not a veteran actress. Let's put it that way. And also the actress in the character, it's an older woman. So the thing that like the implication of this is that this son that died, who looked like he was what, somewhere between 10 and 12, I'd say.
Ish, yeah, I'd say.
Prepubescent.
Oh,
But,
Lee Fiero, she only passed away in April of 2020.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
COVID. She died of COVID.
Died of COVID. That's there you go. The irony. In not a good way. Well, it's horrible. But she, is an older woman in this film, and to me the implication was this is a woman who probably had this kid way late in life. She was not going to have more kids, obviously. Like she looked, if not menopausal at the very least. That's what the age of her looked like. So this was her only child, and there was going to be no more. Her husband looked even more ancient behind her. I assume it was her husband behind her. She's all in black with a veil, very dramatic look. She comes up and she does an amazing scene, really, just amazing job.
Oh, the scene
and the anger, and just so upset. Well, I mean, not just because she lost, because of what she found out. What she had found out was that they knew that there was a shark before. They had the beach open, and now her son is dead. And she basically says that and emotes all that after she slaps Roy Scheider hard in the face
17 times. Yeah, she says
times.
The quote here. She says, "Fiero recalled slapping the actor playing the police chief, Roy Scheider, 17 times.
17 times.
Saying, I slapped him hard with a loose wrist, which is what I was taught in acting school."
Yeah. So she actually didn't know how to pull her punches. So it was a full-on face slap, and one of the takes even knocked Brody's glasses off.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, it looks like she's got her shoulder into it and everything.
Yeah, she's got the full-on boom, rear back flunk, serious slap to the face going on. And Roy Scheider said it was one of the most painful scenes he's ever shot in a movie, because that was 17 times he just slapped to the face. But an amazing scene, and and Roy Scheider playing off of it, also amazing. He's just, you can see he's guilt-ridden. He's obviously not mad at her at all.
No, he just
doesn't even try to shift the blame to where it's appropriate, which is the mayor standing next to him, does none of that. He takes the slap and he's just like, has nothing to say to her. And the mayor's like, "She's wrong, Brody." And Brody's like, "No, she's right.
She's right.
She's right." We didn't close the beach. We didn't warn them even that there was a shark attack, because it's propellant, right? So not even a warning to anybody that, hey, we're not closing the beach, but somebody did get eaten by a shark the night before. So maybe you don't want your kid there. I don't know. Nothing. They did nothing to prevent any future deaths at that point. So
not even a little.
Meanwhile, Hooper is trying to convince the mayor that we need to make sure this is a shark.
Right.
And the mayor makes a valid point, but doesn't follow through. So like the mayor's one valid point was, you're not cutting the shark open right now and having that little kid in her body fall out of the stomach.
Across the docks. Yeah.
Which is legit. You really don't want that where people could witness it. But he doesn't say, let's do it later.
No.
He just says, we're not doing it now. And like, that's it.
Right. Which, yes, that is the one time when I was like, good on.
He's almost, he's
so
almost doing the right thing.
So close.
But meanwhile, still, this one woman killed, skinny dipping at night, one little boy killed, and then a dog on the beach. And they're still not doing what they need to do, because they're like, well, we got a shark. Is it a shark? It's a shark. It could be the shark, maybe not, but we got a shark. How many sharks could there really be roaming around eating things? It's fine. So yeah. Brody goes home. They're having dinner. Rebecca, you might want to talk about this, because this is your favorite scene, I think.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes in it. And it opens up, you see the chief, he's sitting at the table, and dude's stressed. He's got the weight of all of this on his shoulders, and he's just head resting in his hands, and you see his little boy, who's maybe
a toddler, it looks like.
I'd say like 3, maybe
5 or younger.
I'd say
between 5 and
4. I'd say 4 or younger. Just based on a friend's 4-year-old that I was around recently. That's the only frame of reference I have. And you see the kid, he's just watching his dad, and he starts doing the same thing his dad doing. And at one point, you see Brody, he kind of like, he looks over a little and he notices. So he starts like testing the kid. He's like, he puts his hands like this, and little boy puts his hands like that. Brody, look over and do this. Or yeah, something. The kid does that. And it was a very sweet scene. And he goes over to his kid. He's like, hey, come here and give me a kiss. And the kid's like, well, why? Which is the question all kids ask. And the Brody is because, well, because I need one. And the kid's okay, you know, he gives his dad a kiss and a hug, and I think like wanders off or what have you. And it's a nice humanizing scene, you know.
Yeah.
Showing a positive role model, frankly, you know.
Right. And it was, you know, I mean, the whole time, aside from the aversion to the water,
yeah,
you know, the character Brody is pretty much, you know, the epitome of
dedicated family
masculinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah. That's exactly.
You know, he's a New York cop. He's tough, you know, but the whole time they have him in this movie, I think it's awesome. So he's like obviously very caring, and you know, kiss from the son. He's very affectionate towards his wife.
Yeah, you mentioned that I think one of the first times, and the first time we were reviewing the movie,
time we recorded this.
Yeah, and that he and his wife seem to be, I mean, they're equal partners. There's not that weird age gap that Hollywood seems to love to throw in there.
Yeah. There's no power dynamic where, you know, I'm the breadwinner, you take care of the house. But there's none of that, you know.
Yeah.
It's a really awesome looking relationship, honestly.
I was gonna say it looks affectionate and like.
Well, in one of the early scenes, I can't remember if it's the chief or if it's the wife. He was like, "Hey, want to get drunk and fool around?"
The wife. It's when he was looking through the shark book. And like she's like, put that away. You're gonna give yourself nightmares.
Yeah.
And then,
she looks at she looks at it later.
Actually,
and
it's a fun scene. I think it was trying to think if it was after the first shark attack where he starts researching the sharks.
I think it's after the first one.
It is. Yeah.
But the wife, she hands him a drink. She grabs a drink. She like, you know, lounges back onto him, and she's like, "Hey, you want to get drunk and screw around later or something like along those lines?" And he's like, "Absolutely." But he asks where the boys are, and she's like, "Oh, well, Mike's in the boat, you know, that you got him." And he, you know, Brody's like, "No, get him out of the water."
Yeah, like it was like a switch flipped there.
Yeah, he's like, "Get him out of the water." And she's like, "He's not in the water. He's in a boat that is on the water. It's okay." And he's like out there telling Mike to come in, and you know, of course, Mike, who's like the older son, he's like probably 10-ish.
Yeah.
Is like, just a little bit longer, Dad. You know, because he has no clue why his dad's panicking about him being on the water. He just knows his dad doesn't like boats and water. You know, but in Ellen's like first, that's the wife's name, Ellen Brody. She's first like, just calm down. You don't want to make him afraid to ever be on a boat. And, you know, you can tell that really hits Brody in the face, because it's probably why there's probably fear enforcement
back there somewhere.
That fed into the reason why he's afraid of drowning and boats and so on. And, but while she's getting him to calm down, he's like, okay, but I really prefer he learns the boating rules and all this stuff and regulations. She's looking through one of the books he was, and she sees a picture of a shark biting into the hull of a boat. Yeah. And then she kind of gets it. And she's like, hey, get out of the water now, Mike. Listen to your dad.
Yeah. That was hilarious when she pulled that one. Yeah. You kids, listen to your father.
Like, oh, wait, this is not just his normal fear of water.
Hey, wait a minute.
So that was interesting too. But like I said, they have this really great relationship. And but the funny thing is, apparently in the book, which they decided not to do in the movie, Ellen Brody has an affair with Matt Hooper, those characters.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't. And it would have added nothing to the film.
Apparently when they were doing the script writing process versus the book, and they were talking to the writer's like, yeah, I just put it in for some sex in the book to give it more feel. And it really has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. And like, so, you know, the scriptwriter and everybody was like, yeah, this doesn't add anything to it. And I'm so glad they didn't put it in, because I love the dynamic they have with Brody and Ellen. And if that were ruined, I'd be heartbroken.
Absolutely.
Plus, it's really hard to picture Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper with the actress that plays Ellen Brody. They just don't.
I just no.
I can't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
But then again, it wasn't meant to be in the movie, so there's a reason you don't see it. But meanwhile, Hooper comes over to Brody's house, and like, if you want to talk about rich white male entitlement, like he knocks and Ellen's going to answer the door, and you hear him in the background, "Oh, your door was open, so I just let myself in."
I kind of took that, at least a little bit of me, as scientific individuals so focused on what they do that like the normal rules of people engagement do not
No, to me, it
filter
just
into their brain.
spoke more of white male entitlement. Like, your door was open. I got something I want to do, and I want to talk to you, so I'm just going to come on in.
Could be a combination of both.
Yeah.
But he does bring 2 bottles of wine because apparently he intends to have dinner with him, regardless of the fact that he was not invited. So he sits down at the table. They're like thankful for the wine, and he sees the plate of food that Brody did not eat in front of him. He's like, "Anybody eat this?" And just already pulling it over in front of himself to eat, and just helps himself. And is basically he's there just to convince Brody that they need to cut open the shark. They need to know,
Meanwhile, Brody's opening the bottle of wine, and he starts, to pour, and Hooper's like, "You're gonna want to let that breathe." Never mind, because Brody's just pouring it into a tumbler glass, and just
like around this size glass.
Yeah,
just a normal,
and just
pint glass, if you will,
and just tossing it back.
Yeah, so he does. His wife actually brought out 2 wine glasses, and he does put like a splash in each wine glass for Brody.
Yeah,
for Mrs. Brody and Hooper, but it's pretty funny. I downed it, but the end of the conversation is they're going to go to the dock and cut open the shark because Brody's already feeling riddled with guilt, and it's not being put out there. This may not be the shark at all, and he's knowing there's going to be a repeat. Like, there's no way there's not going to be a repeat, right?
Right.
So they cut open the shark. Basically, a bunch of salt water, slimy kind of goo comes out, and they find a pot roast that was sacrificed to the cause earlier, unwittingly, by the fisherman's wife or islander's wife. Go ahead.
I was going to say it was the 2
the 2
fishermen.
2 islanders.
The 2
drunk islanders. Yeah, 2 drunk islanders decide they're going to get the bounty, and they just basically go out on their fishing
before
pier.
Everybody else arrives. Yeah.
With a hook on a chain and like Sunday dinner.
The tire is a bobber, effectively. Yeah.
A pot roast that I don't know is the size of my cat. So.
Yeah, but I got a cat that's almost 20 pounds, so let's not press that.
Well, my cat is big. It's a big pot roast.
Yeah.
Like, that is a ginormous pot roast. I have a big cat too. And it's the size of my cat. That's a big pot roast. That would feed 19 people. I don't know why you need a pot roast that big.
But she did, and she doesn't have it anymore because the shark ate it, ripped the dock off, and scared the hell out of the 2 islanders. And it ended up being the shark that they caught later, which is a tiger shark. But it didn't have, it had a pot roast. It had a license plate. It had fish. Some fish, maybe a tin can. But no Pippin, no Chrissy, and no Alex Kidner. So they now know for a fact it is not the shark because, as pointed out early in the movie, sharks have slow digestion. So anything it had eaten within like the week should have been there. So nothing.
There should have been a lot of people, and there weren't any.
Yep. No persons, no dogs.
So they decide to go out in the water and do a little bit of their own reconnaissance.
Yeah, which is funny. So this is when it's fully revealed that Hooper is rich. It's kind of implied at the dinner because he talks about being out on a boat when he was 11. It kind of makes you sound like, and the wine and the fact that he was referring to the wine needing to breathe all kind of like gives an implication of a little more money than just a college researcher kind of type person. So, but he's on this huge yacht-like looking boat to me with all this equipment, like really advanced, expensive equipment. And Brody's like, "Did you get this from the Institute?" And Hooper's like, "No, it's mine.
No, this is mine.
I'm rich.
I'm very wealthy."
Yeah. How much are you worth? Me or my family? Like Well then.
Okay, then. Yeah, so they go out a little ways in the night, and poor Brody's not happy, but he's on the boat. And at some point, Cooper's like, okay, I'm going to go jump in and take a look at something, because I think they came across
They
something.
came across a boat.
Yeah.
I forget if they say if the chief recognized it.
He
Or
did.
that's
They did.
so-and-so's boat.
That's somebody's
Yeah,
boat.
he recognized
Yeah.
it. It was
Okay,
an
that's-
Islander's
yeah, you're right.
boat.
George somebody or
Yeah, I don't remember
Oh
that.
yeah. And so Hooper they're looking at it, and you see the camera pan across the boat, the ruined boat that's there, because it's sort of half in, half out.
Mhm.
And there's a very distinctive curved divot in the rail, thus implying that the shark ate that portion of the railing on the boat.
That something hit the rail or docked it.
Yeah.
We're assuming it's the shark.
I took the implication that it was a shark because of the shape of the cutout.
I was gonna say, because it was like
Half moon.
like a bite.
Yeah.
And then Cooper goes underwater, and you see where the hull has been now, very clearly. And there's a tooth, very huge tooth,
Yep.
an enormous shark tooth.
I'm gonna say again, it's shaped like the size of a Dorito.
And Hooper grabs the tooth, and they hear you get one of the best scares in the movie, which Spielberg kind of regrets putting in there because he felt it took away from the scare of when you first see Jaws. Because you had this big jump scare, so people were ready for it. This was his theory. I just think it's just that you knew that there was a shark in the water at some point. You were going to see it, and it just didn't look too scary the first time Jaws came up. It was more like, there it is, but it wasn't like,
you're like, aha.
He wasn't quite attacking at that point.
Yeah.
But Spielberg's theory is because of this shot, it takes away from Jaws reveal. But anyway, you got Hooper with the tooth, and then as he's like looking into the hull, a head floats towards him. And of course, we all jump.
Yes.
I certainly did.
We saw this with a friend of ours at Greenlawn Abbey, and this friend had not seen it, and she was apparently very
she
susceptible
saw
to
it.
Oh, she saw. I thought she hadn't seen it previously.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought she'd seen it before. But
I'm not
it
sure
had
she
been a
had,
long
because
time.
she was very jumpy.
Well, she said she'd seen it before, but it'd been a really long
Okay, all right.
long time.
I thought she hadn't seen it.
And some people are, I mean, so
And then there
the
are
three of us watch this kind of shit all the time.
And then there are people
Yeah.
like me.
We
who
can
watched
still be
Jaws
got by
last
jump
year.
scares, but
I watched
we
it
tend
last
to,
year. I still jump
Yeah.
scared.
but we tend to like modulate our jump scares a little bit. Like we're more of the, kind
Yeah.
of jump scare.
We're like, there it is.
I went,
Our friend
you wouldn't have known
had the
necessarily.
best reaction. It was like, actually, okay, so if you're a type of person that hugely reacts to jump scares, those of us that don't, we love you. We think it is so fun. And we're not even mocking you. We just enjoy the thrill you get from it. You know what I mean? It's not like, they jump scared. It's more like, oh, yay, they're enjoying the movie. It's weird. We know it. But yeah, our friend, that scene came up, and she made a nice high-pitched noise and kind of popped halfway out of her chair, grabbed my hand. It was great.
Yeah.
And also, there's something to be said between watching it on your TV and seeing it on a big screen, or even not so big a screen.
Agree.
And also, I guess it's a good time to put a little plug. So as mentioned, we went and saw this at Greenlawn Abbey. If you are a Columbus local or visiting Columbus, Greenlawn Abbey is a mausoleum on Greenlawn. Road Avenue, I don't remember. But
Avenue.
And it's under the care of Preservation Society, and it's a historical site. I don't think it's officially a historical marker, but it is a historical site. And a lot of prestigious Columbus residents have been buried there. You have the Sells family that was a circus family. You have Thurston the magician.
Yay, we like him.
He was a contemporary of Houdini's. And they have a lot of great events out there. It's a good cause. All the money just goes to restoring the Abbey. So I think they might have one or two more movies under the stars left, but you can look up Greenlawn Preservation or Greenlawn Abbey Preservation Society, and they list all their events. And go check it out because it's pretty cool.
Yep. Very cool.
But meanwhile, back in the ocean, Hooper gets scared by whoever's boat it was, head floating at him, drops the shark tooth, and hurries his ass up to the surface. But he describes to Brody what he saw, and Brody's like not going to doubt Hooper because why the fuck?
Brody's like, I believe you. Well.
And so you see them basically the next day on the beach trying to convince the mayor to not open up the beach
for the 4th of July week.
which
Very
of course, it's 4th of July weekend. So this is like their biggest money-making weekend of the whole year.
Yes,
So
this is
again,
like
you
the
have
break.
this mayor who, it wasn't his kid that was eaten, right? So they caught a shark. It's probably the shark, right? And so he's just not hearing it. We have like Matt Hooper trying to explain it to him. We have Brody trying to explain it to him. And like they talk about the shark tooth, and the mayor's like, and where is this tooth? Oh, you dropped it. Okay. And he's accusing Hooper of just wanting to get himself a National Geographic, which is kind of funny because if it were true, there still would have to be the shark. You know?
Yeah.
Like in order for him to get into a magazine, there really would have to be this huge giant shark that is off the coast of it that's eating people. And I think the mayor kind of misses that fact. He's just saying that, you know, Hooper wants fame and glory by shutting down the beach. And Brody just doesn't understand. Meanwhile, you have this lovely billboard that somebody had painted like a shark.
Help, shark.
And like, it's funny because Hooper's like trying to explain to him that oddly enough, the proportions that are showing in this thing, this graffiti, are pretty accurate to how big this shark probably really is.
Yep.
Mayor's not having. He's like, well, do whatever you need to do to make the beaches safe, except for closing it. You know? So they have the Coast Guard in, they hire watchers, they have a whole system up. There's people out on boats.
It's like a helicopter spotter.
There's a helicopter pontoon thing, which is really cool.
Yep.
And the beach is loaded, and you see the mayor walking, and you see nobody's in the water. And the mayor, he goes, and I assume there were some other prominent council members.
That was my assumption too.
He goes up to them, and he's like basically lecturing them about, you need to get in the water. If you're not in the water, nobody's going to go in the water. If nobody goes in the water, people are going to leave, and we're not going to have any money. Get in the water. And you can see these people are terrified, but they're still grabbing their kids to make the ultimate sacrifice of the economy, and they're going to go in the ocean because, you know, the mayor told them to. The mayor, whose own family is at the beach, and not in the water either. And he, who's wearing a really horrible suit, not going in the water.
Yeah, his fashion choices were questionable at best.
Very tragic. But these people, they like I said, they grab their kids, they go into the water, and then sure enough, other people start following, and more people are going into the water. And meanwhile, Brody's kids are like, his older son's trying to take the boat out, and Brody's like, don't do your old man a favor, take it into the pond. And what the pond is just basically a little inlet lagoon, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Still an ocean. You have to excuse my dog's hacking up a hairball.
Hey, that's what I wondered.
Mine was doing it earlier. We've banished her because she was doing the same thing. So
that's okay. At least whatever neighbors have the drum set have stopped.
So there's that. Anyway, so of course his son reluctantly is like, okay, Dad, and goes and takes it to the pond. And meanwhile, the little brother's following, going, I want to play too. Ends up on the beach. And there's everybody having fun in the water. And then, of course, you see a fin.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody like gets everyone out of the water. People are getting trampled, of course. And panic ensues. And then all the boats, you got people with guns aimed at the fin. And all of a sudden, the fin pops over and two little boys pop out. And the one points to the other and said, he made me do it. All I could say is some kids, this is the 70s, so they were going to get an ass whooping because that's what they did to us then.
Yes.
We got ass whoopings. There was no joke. There was no sit in the corner.
Shocked how young those kids were too, because I think they were like, judging by just like what I know of kids, that was like an 11-year-old and like a 10-year-old. Like those were little.
That's
kids.
what it looked like.
They were not teenagers, because I would think teenagers, but they're young.
No, but I mean, like again, 70s. So basically, I don't know if you all know this, but our parents didn't pay all that much attention to us. They would do their thing, and they would expect us to know how to fend for ourselves to a pretty decent degree. Like you knew how to swim, then you knew how to act right. If you didn't know how to act right, you got your ass beat later. So you either had to know how to act right or not get caught.
We were dropped off at the pool and picked up several hours later.
Dropped off the mall. Yeah. Basically, you ran amok in the neighborhood, and you just had to be back in time for dinner if you weren't the one cooking dinner. You had to have your chores done, your homework done, and your ass where it was supposed to be at time X. And other than that, you did whatever the hell you wanted because nobody had time to be dealing with your trifling ass. Basically, is what it was.
Pretty much.
So, needless to say, though, this was not necessarily the best parenting thing because it results in people like me, and you don't want people like me around because we're basically just holding it together. Sociopaths that don't kill people because it's too much effort.
Feral people.
So, I wouldn't recommend it. I enjoyed it though. Because I was the one that didn't get caught, so I didn't really have to get too many ass whoopings either. But
Something to be said.
be smart if you're gonna do it. Meanwhile,
Okay, God.
you knew these kids were gonna get just their ass beat, and their parents were gonna be mortified because that was the thing. It wasn't really like you breaking the rules. It's if you embarrassed your parents, you paid a price. Just flat out know it. Like nobody was gonna have sympathy for the parents, so the parents are not gonna have sympathy for you.
Let's be honest, those kids got punished pretty well by having, I don't know, something like 100 guns pointed at them as they came up from under the water.
They're little
That's
boys.
probably terrifying. I'm gonna guess they peed.
Well, they probably did, but they're little boys and plausible deniability about peeing in the ocean, so it's not like they're going to see a stain.
That's true.
So basically 3 minutes later, if they didn't get their asses whooped, they're like, it was so cool. All these guns were pointed at us. Yeah, no, I don't think that would have taught them the remotest lesson. Their mama beating their ass might though. Which probably more taught them don't get caught. Anyway, back to the point. So
it wasn't a real shark yet.
No real shark. Everybody's not quite back in the water. Everybody's just still trying to like come down from the adrenaline high of like we thought we were just about to get eaten. It was two stupid ass little boys. And all of a sudden you hear, I don't know, one of the best shark screams I've ever heard because it was just like this weird paralyzed kind of.
Because she's trying to get shark out. Because she's scared.
What you would probably sound like if you actually saw a big shark.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Good.
I've always loved it. I don't know why. I loved how that emoted out where she's just like.
Because at first she's staring like.
That can't be real. Disassociation for sure.
No, yeah.
Like that's not real. And then, so she gets it out and like it's getting louder and louder because she's trying at first and it's more like shark, and then a loud shark. Yeah,
it's
almost like an orgasm build.
Legit starts to scream shark.
Only with no pleasure in it. So let's be clear. But yeah, it crescendos up. At any rate, yeah. So and it's in the pond, of course, because that's where Brody's kid is. And they're having issues with the boat at this point. They're all very focused on a knot that needs to be untied so they can tie it the correct way so they can get the sail up so they can actually, sail a boat. And, little boys are arguing with each other about how they're not doing it right and, not paying any attention. And an older adult who's rowing on the pond is like, do you kids need help? And boom, Jaws takes down the adult. Gets him. And then, of course, the boat that the boys are on capsizes and poor Mike, Brody's son, totally freezes. And props to his buddies. Because his buddies don't leave him
got him
behind.
out of the water.
I was going to say, good on them. They did not abandon him. They did pull him from the water.
Which, I'm not saying that I would be that good. So if you're all done with me, I might swim without you. I don't know. I have no idea.
I hate to say this, but I am absolutely a freezer. I'm aware of this. Like, it is proven. I've done it more than once. So I really felt for that kid because I was like, oh, that would be me. I'd just be frozen in the water, get wet.
Yeah, I have no idea because I don't always react to them. Sometimes I freeze and panic. Sometimes I black out and lash out and people get hurt. Sometimes I don't run though because mostly I'm just not good at running. I just know that I'm completely ineffective.
No running. If there has to be running,
it's either freeze or fight for me.
I freeze to the point of just ceasing to breathe.
So just be known, if you're swimming with any of us out in the ocean and this should happen, you might just die because we might lead you there or you might be frozen and unable to help you.
I was going to say, or I might be drowning. So I can't help you anyway.
So no ocean swimming with us, folks, okay? Or just know that much like if we were racing in the 1970s, you'd be expected to fend for yourself.
Maybe I'm rethinking the scuba diving lessons.
There's a legit reason why I like no.
No, like I said, I've never dealt with it. Well, I mean, I saw little sharks when I was snorkeling, but those didn't scare me. So I just wanted to pet it, which also might be my other reaction. I might have a huge ass shark come at me and I might try to pet
it. That is equally likely.
Meanwhile, though.
So anyway, back to the actual movie.
Yeah, sorry. This is our sober version. You should have heard our drunk version. Meanwhile, they pull Mike to the shore. Everybody sees a huge ass shark. The guy gets eaten in front of people. So people now witness the huge ass shark attack. You find the Brodies at the hospital because Mike is in shock and he's frozen, because why wouldn't you be when you see a huge ass shark eat somebody 3 feet, well, probably not even a foot in front of you, basically.
Yep.
The mayor finally gets that he's a jackass. Because why? His kids were in the
on the
ocean
beach
that day
too.
too.
Yeah.
So now he gets that he might have to pay the price for the economy, and now it matters. So they close down the beaches. Brody gets the mayor to sign basically a note
check,
saying,
I think.
don't pay Shaw.
Whatever, yeah.
Or they'll
Yeah.
pay Quint, sorry, not Shaw. Shaw,
Quint.
the actor, Quint, the character.
Shaw, the actor, Quint, the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 10 grand that he wants to hunt and kill Jaws. And basically you get to the end of the movie area now, because it's like, all this is just
Now we're with the shark.
Yep. Now there's the hunt. The hunt is on.
And this is what gets me about the hunt. And I get it's probably because Quint is a prick, but I'm still like, somebody should have put their foot down and been like, big boats, new, go fast with new shiny toys. Your old wooden thing that's already ready to sink.
Yeah. Yeah. The orca, which I think was a great name for the boat, considering that orcas will hunt sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and specifically, not only do they just hunt the sharks, they will take just the one little specific part that they want, and they like won't even bother eating the rest of the shark. And they're like, no, we want this soft squishy part right here.
Not trying to patronize, but in case people don't know, it's possible. An orca is a killer whale. Just FYI. In case you didn't know. And ironically, I think it was a couple years later, they made Orca the Killer Whale movie, which was basically a killer whale that went on a killing spree, much like Jaws did, and was eating people. I thought that was funny. Also because Steven Spielberg was not the first pick as the director for this. The first pick, whose name I forgot, got fired, and according to the little fact sheet that you sent, Rebecca, it was because he kept referring to Jaws as a whale. And like the producers and stuff are like, this dude doesn't know the difference between a whale and a shark. And so they fired him. And then they got Spielberg.
I mean, fair, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
Oh, definitely a big difference. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. Probably fire the person who doesn't know what a shark is.
Did he not read the script? Why does he keep saying whale? Like, I would be worried too. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it says originally Steven Spielberg, I can't talk today. Spielberg was not the director of Jaws. The first director, Dick Richards. I know.
Sounds made up or a porn name. Dick
It sounds
Richards.
like a porn name.
Dicker?
Stop, I can't laugh. was fired after meeting with producers and studio execs. In the meeting, he said that his opening shot would have the camera come out of the water to show the town, then the whale, instead of the shark, would come out of the water. The producers said they were not making Moby Dick, and they would not work with someone who did not know the difference between a whale and a shark. How's that for flubbing your job interview?
They're not making Moby
Not
Dick.
even a jobber. You were already hired and you fucked it up.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of correlation between this and Moby Dick, though. Here at the end with
Ahab, yeah, I would say that, the end of the hunt, but still not a whale.
It's still not a whale. It's still a shark, but there is a bit of a like. I mean, if you have,
do you think a producer really? We caught the nuance between Captain Ahab and Quint? No, so it's just like to them they were just saying Moby Dick because they knew it was about a whale. I'm sure they never read the book.
Well, I was just looking, and apparently one of the intro scenes that they wanted to do to intro Quint was having him in a movie theater that was screening the 1956 Moby Dick, and him laughing at the bad special effects. And apparently Gregory Peck, who was in that version of Moby Dick, has owned some of the rights. And he was like, yeah, no, you're not using that. Not because he disagreed with the way they were going to do it, but because he's apparently embarrassed of his performance in the film.
Funny.
So,
I mean, he's acting. He made choices in that film. I've seen that film, and there are choices.
See, I haven't seen
It's been so long, I wouldn't comment it. But another funny thing, since we brought up Gregory Peck in a contemporary movie, Charlton Heston was up for the part of Brody, and he didn't get it. And
I'm so glad.
Super pissed about it. and like afterwards vowed to never work with Spielberg, regardless of what Spielberg would have offered him, and he never did. And he was offered some parts by Spielberg, and Heston said no. But the funny thing was that, like, Spielberg, according to the little article that you put out there, it said that Spielberg had chosen not to go with Charlton Heston because of all the big action, brave hero, manly man movies that Heston had just starred in prior to this, that he thought that viewers would find it completely unbelievable that Charlton Heston as Brody had any fear of anything, whether it be both water or shark.
Precisely.
That absolutely makes sense to me in a weird way, but yes, that totally makes sense to me. Where
I can see that. We're star
Charlton
power.
Not afraid of water.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston isn't afraid of anything, not even a damn dirty ape.
Yeah. So, but and honestly though, I mean, I know it's because now we have Roy Scheider this part, so it seems like that's the only person who could do this part. But I just can't see Charlton Heston doing the job that Scheider did, and because he was just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that there would be, Scheider lends a like seriousness and a nuance to it that I'm not sure Charlton Heston could have done.
Yeah.
Which I like, because while he is like very masculine and whatever, he's also like obviously a family man, and like he's afraid of water, and this all plays in, and he's very smart. And like his first thing, instead of being like, I'm going to get a big gun, is to go and read books about sharks. Like,
that's true.
This says something about him, of who he is as a person, that I don't think that Charlton Heston would have necessarily embodied as well.
And it's like, I don't know, everything I've ever seen Heston, it's just been these epic films where you have to be a larger than life, kind of overdo it, theatrical actor. And I don't know that he could have toned it down to this level. You know what I mean? Like, it would almost seem like William Shatner playing Chief Brody. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of
oh no, that's awful.
Dramatic, big. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. I thought Heston was an excellent actor in the roles that he had and what he did, but it was just very.
It's big.
It's big.
He would. It's a
hard to envision him in anything that isn't a big MGM epic.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, not that Jaws is an epic, but you know what I mean.
It is on a different scale.
Type of scale, yeah.
It's a cult epic,
But yeah, Roy Scheider, I even to this day, I can't think of anybody that would hold a candle to him in this movie.
No,
if they were to remake it and recast it, and you ask me who you think it would be, I'd be like, I don't think you should even bother.
No.
Whereas I can see some people replacing Shaw possibly, which take nothing from Shaw. I thought he was amazing, but you could find some other burly, drunken, morose actors to do it. Even Dreyfuss's character Hooper, you can find some young punk like Ryan Reynolds to pull it in. You know what I mean?
Like how we were both like, that's you.
Definitely, but I just can't think of anybody who could do what Roy Scheider did.
No. Like if they were gonna recast Shaw, I'd pick dude who played Cable in Deadpool 2.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
From the Goonies.
Yeah. Yes.
But good moment to talk about Shaw. So Shaw did excellent. You see him that one scene in the movie, and then nothing till the hunt is on. Yeah. And basically Quint is a full-on basic prick character throughout the movie. He gives Dreyfuss's character Hooper like guff all the time. Strangely, he's kind of soft on Brody. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to teach Brody the ways of the ocean. And stuff like that.
Think because
doesn't even really pick on him about his fear of drowning or anything.
No, what I think that is because I think he thinks, I don't know, maybe he feels that Hooper is more than he makes himself, or is less than he makes himself out to be.
I think it's the college educated thing. People, like that was kind of dynamic where I'm the actual fisherman and you're just some college punk.
Well,
I think there's also a level of like, this is competition.
Yeah.
This guy.
You think you know about sharks because you study them. I know about sharks because
I've lived it.
Yeah. Truth.
But to be pointed out, though, Shaw was a raging alcoholic. And a quote by Roy Scheider was that, Shaw was a perfect gentleman until he got drunk, and he got drunk basically as soon as he had a drink. And he had a drink almost all the time. Like pretty much in between shots, he was sipping from a flask. And as a result, he was a terrible person in public to Richard Dreyfuss. Like he would bully and pick on him, call him coward. Though it was so that in private, he was very nice to Dreyfus. It was just when he got around other people, he was a posturer, like one of those posers that has to get up and, I'm bigger,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because I'm sure it led to the dynamic in the movie because that's how it's
I was
played
gonna
out.
say,
I thought-
honestly, that probably, because there are scenes where it is very obvious that Richard Dreyfuss is having none of this shit.
Mhm.
Like, none of it. Like, he looks legitimately like, I am done.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Rebecca having a cat tail.
I know.
going under his-
Yeah.
Tail.
Penny. Yeah, Princess Penny Tiny Cat wanted to be on the camera as well.
Of course,
So,
it's okay.
I know.
But yeah, so we're on the boat now. We got Hooper, we got Brody, and we got Quint, and that's it.
Yep.
On this tiny little wooden tugboat.
And that is really what it looks like. It does look like a tiny
And,
tugboat.
I mean, it's a little charter fishing boat for real, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
beat up. It's seen better days. You could tell that Quint gives a fuck about like the niceties of life. It's just here. We
Yeah.
got the equipment we need, sort of,
kind
in a
of.
boat that mostly runs, that isn't sinking at the moment.
So they
and
go
they go
out,
out on the
they're
hunt.
trying to find it, and they're chumming the waters, which is
This is one of my favorite things. So Brody is the
Yeah.
one throwing the chum. And if you don't know, chum is just cut up fish and blood grossness. It's just cut up bait, basically. And it smells horrific because it's a dead fish in a bucket. It's basically been sitting on the
Yep.
deck that you're flinging out to the ocean to attract sharks.
fish parts, fish poop.
Smells nasty as hell.
Everything's stinky.
And Brody is combating the smell of the fish by dumping Old Spice
Ice on a
cologne
towel.
onto a handkerchief
Like-
and sticking it in front of his face. And I'm like, I don't know how that could possibly have improved the situation because now you have fish guts mixed with the
This is
smell of
Old
Old
Spice.
Spice.
Why?
And I can't imagine, like, it's like Cheetos and ass. There's nothing good about it. It's
Yeah.
awful.
I'm kind of curious how they've never used that as a commercial for Old
For Old
Spice.
Well,
honestly, it is rather
yeah.
amazing that
Think
somehow that
about,
didn't
like,
come
well,
up.
Spice commercial.
they never really show the label. It's just but the
I
thing
think
is,
you
you know,
can
you
see it. I mean, so
I don't think
people
of that,
who
but
are
the bottle
crazy
is
enough to watch this-
distinctive, so we knew.
watch
Just
it and
the
see if you
bottle.
could kind of see like the Old Spice label. I
Yeah.
feel like you could see the name of it just by like they don't focus on it. It actually doesn't look like it was product placement or anything. I mean, this was
Yeah,
1975, so I don't.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I think, the bottle is a distinctive shape, so I might have
I
overwrote
was gonna say,
seeing the label
I
on it.
don't know that there
But
was a
I
label,
thought you can
but
see Old Spice just
Yeah.
for a
the
second.
bottle, man. The
Yeah,
bottle.
just the bottle is enough to
so
know what it is.
known.
So if you're bored, watch. Focus in on that scene and let us know. Can you actually see a bit of the label that says Old Spice, or is it just Jenny saying that because the bottle and she knew it was Old Spice?
I was gonna say because
Yeah.
it's such a recognizable bottle, but
But, and so
Um,
then they're doing the heating. He's back to doing the chumming, and then
You have a tense moment between Brody and Hooper where like Brody accidentally pulls the wrong knot and compressed air and shark cage all flow all over the part where they have Hooper panickingly or angrily saying compressed air is explosive, which scientists,
nope, sorry. The problem you're dealing with is if the regulator gets knocked off, the valve's on top of it. If that got knocked off, you would essentially have like a little bit of a missile at that point because all the air is venting and that's going to push the cylinder and blah blah blah.
now
But it's not going to blow up,
oxygen is flammable and explosive, but they specifically say compressed air and not oxygen. So,
which we know is a mix of nitrogen, oxygen, and whatnot.
well, actual air, yeah. But oxygen, when you think about pure oxygen tanks that they give to people with emphysema, that's oxygen. That is flammable.
Yep.
Don't fuck around with that. Just
Nope. Compressed
don't try
air,
this at home.
78% nitrogen.
take it from me. If you have one in your house, they come to your house real fast.
But so two things. Don't go knocking off the valve on the compressed air to shoot it like a missile. And if you're around a thing of oxygen, don't go say it's not flammable because we say compressed air isn't, and play around with matches and smoking. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Don't try this at home, kids.
Full disclaimer. No flammable, smoky stuff around
Yep.
oxygen tanks. Don't fuck around with shooting compressed air.
Yep.
All right. Now that we've had our PSA out. So one, they basically did this to establish the explosiveness of the compressed air, which is not true.
Yeah.
But, you know,
It's a
in the
plot
movie,
point, but there you go.
and show a little tension where you can see that like Quint truly is trying to look out for Brody, and but has a little respect for Hooper knowing some of his shit. because basically he just kind of like, and then like when Brody walks by Quint's like, just ask me which rope to pull next time.
Yeah.
So
They go back
meanwhile,
to chumming, I think, after that point again, because that's when they have the shark come up.
not quite, but it's very
Yeah.
near. That you
Yeah.
just see a little more interaction. I think what happens next is actually when Quint catches something on the rod. Is this scene?
You're right.
And which is a very intense, old man in the sea fishing scene. And you have basically Hooper's denying that it's a shark. He's like, it's probably just a big marlin gaping fish kind of thing. And you have Quint like, no, it's a fucking shark. I know what I got on the line. And they're trying to reel it in and they're working and, basically things get handed off on the side. And eventually the high test line that should not have snapped. And then you get back to people reassigning and reassessing and like, Quint basically telling Hooper, don't tell me my shit, which basically gives you the clue to what Quint's animosity against Hooper is, Basically he felt like Hooper thought he knew more than he knew and didn't think that Quint knew what he knew, So that's, I think, where they basically tell you the tension. And then meanwhile, like, basically you go, Brody gets back to chumming, Hooper goes back up to steer the boat, and Quint is just going around doing whatever he's doing. And that is when you see Brody
Finally,
just throwing chum.
Fully see the shark.
You finally see Bruce / Jaws.
And and Brody isn't even quite looking at it at first.
No,
he's looking away. He's just chucking the stuff out there. And he's like, I got your chum right here. And he's looking away. And as he's flinging it, you see the shark come up. And then you're like, oh. And then, Brody turns back. There's another one. And then shark.
Yeah, basically flops the chum right onto the nose of Bruce.
Yeah.
And sees it. And it's like one of the best scenes because like Bruce Schreider just nailed it. Just eyes get wide.
He
full on
bolts
shock.
Upright. And he just
cigarette hanging from side of mouth, like
face even goes, pale as hell, and he starts backing away. And it's like one of the most famous lines from the movie where he goes, "We're gonna need a bigger boat," and which was ad libbed and ended up being. Was it you, Rebecca, or were you, Betsy, was talking about how it ended up being a running joke?
Yeah, it was a running joke on the set. I think it was originally related to the fact that they had so much equipment that they were going to need. They wanted a bigger barge to carry like the equipment and everything, like the chase boat and what have you. But so now then anytime anything went wrong, it could be like, the caterer is late with lunch. Oh, we're going to need a bigger boat. Or, or shit, I just tore this, tore my costume. Get wardrobe. Oh, we're going to need a bigger boat. Doesn't matter.
It ended up being the catchphrase of the movie amongst the crew and the cast.
Yep.
So we finally get to see Bruce. He's terrifying. He's huge. He's, Brody's like, fuck it. It's like, let's call the Coast Guard. We need to get a bigger boat. And this is when you get the Captain Ahab from Quint. He's like, nope, we don't need help. This. We're doing this, not happening this way. Yep. Yeah. To the point where even when they're like attacking Jaws later in the barrel, the Coast Guard calls with the call from Brody's wife. And it's like, well,
I love that moment.
Well, Brody and Hooper are running around getting everything to try to like deal with the shark. You just have like Quint casually on the like CB going, yeah, put her through. And then he just like doesn't really let her talk. He's like, everything's fine. We're doing good. Have dinner ready, whatever. And then just,
might have caught some stripers. Like, okay, gotta go. Bye.
Bye. I think mostly because he doesn't want Brody's wife sending the Coast Guard out after him. So he's like, well, I'm going to take this call, make sure that there's, and then goes back to the business of hunting the shark, which basically consists of them shooting it with barrels to try to keep it from being able to go under and to be able to track it, which I'm guessing maybe they didn't have tracking technology they can put on it at this point in time. I have no idea about like 1975.
Well, I know they had radio collars, I thought, at that point in time. Hooper
I don't know. Because you see him put it on there. So he has some kind of a tracker because he puts it on it. He turns it on and sticks it on there.
I was never sure if that was a tracker or if it was just visual cues.
Well, it was a beacon. Yeah, like a tracker beacon. So that he could see it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't research that.
Yeah.
So I was only born in 75. I don't know a lot about what's going on.
Let's be honest. Even if they had that technology, Quint wasn't going to use it.
Yeah.
No, but Hooper might have, But yeah, so they're hunting it down.
And
So to me, it's a very long, drawn out hunt, but it's not really. Like, it's not very long in the film, but it's just very tedious.
It
and
is,
it's
but
building
it isn't, because it's a
suspense.
whole lot of like do wait.
yeah, it's boredom punctuated by panic.
Which I thought was kind of excellent in the sense that it probably, I mean, it really kind of gave a feel for what they would have been
Probably
doing.
what it would have been like. Yeah, a lot of waiting
A
and
lot of,
well, where is it? Well, it couldn't have gone down with one.
Could've gone down
it
with
couldn't
3.
two. Yeah.
But,
And so a lot of, and then while they're waiting,
you
they're
get to learn more about them.
they're sitting around the table in the boat, they're comparing war wounds, and then
which actually is just Hooper and Quint that are doing it.
Hooper and Quint,
because
he's kind of looking at this little appendix scar,
Yeah.
Brody's like, no.
Which is funny because you have to be sure that as a New York cop, he probably had quite a few war wounds himself. But
I'm sure, yeah.
But he's not getting into it, which I think is interesting about Brody to begin with. Like, he just feels no need. And to be fair, even though like there's that competitive like hostility that was between Quint and Hooper, this scene it isn't.
No, this
it's
is more like
camaraderie,
silly camaraderie drinking.
Yep. You drink to your leg, I'll drink to my leg.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's during this scene that it comes out that Quint was a survivor of the USS Indianapolis sinking, which, if you know your history, that was part of the deaths that ensued from that sinking was shark attacks. So there was, I think, like 11 or 1,200 people on it, on the boat.
Roughly 1,100 when because I think it said roughly 1,100 went into the water, and they pulled like.
Well, I'm just thinking the actual. There's like 11 or 1,200 that somewhere between 11 and 1,200. People on the boat. It's saying
his quote on the thing is 1,100 went into the drink, 316 survived.
Right, which is actually accurate. The 316, I believe, to the Royal USS Indianapolis. There was like a small portion of them, relatively speaking, that died from the actual sinking, and then the rest of them were all killed between dehydration, starvation, drowning, or dehydration, starvation, and shark attacks, waiting for them to get rescued, which is a true historical thing from World War II. That they fictionalized for this movie, but it actually did happen, and it's an excellently acted scene. You just get this dead seriousness and this kind of disassociative monologue from Quint, where
because you see it as soon as like, I got that was a tattoo I got removed, and let me guess, mom.
And he's like, no, USS Indianapolis.
And you see like a switch go off on Hooper's face. He's like, oh.
Because Hooper studies sharks, and anybody who studies sharks knows the story of this sinking because of the shark.
And it's very obvious also in that same scene that Brody does not know the story. So this is new for him. Yeah. Because he's like, oh, okay.
Wow. Like, we're not joking anymore. This is some serious shit. Yeah. So, and I think that's also when you see a bit of a change, like just a whole different view that now Hooper has of Quint.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more understanding there. And that scene, Shaw had gone to Spielberg and was like, well, maybe let me film it after I get a few drinks in me to see. Well,
it was a weird comment. So they all were going to film it drunk.
Yep.
Because that's what the scene was supposed to be. And so all the actors during some of the takes of it were drunk, but Shaw got super drunk, and
he had to be carried. Yeah, he had to be carried into the scene, and
they couldn't use those shots.
Yeah,
they had to refilm it completely. And it actually, Shaw was very embarrassed that he had fucked it up so bad that he, like they took several takes and they couldn't use any of them, and he was mortified that he had made up such a mess of it. And went to Spielberg later. You're correct, and was like, "Please give me one more chance. I can do this." And then they shot it sober,
which was the correct choice.
Yeah, and
you're actors, you can act drunk.
This is and I don't know this for a fact, but I would almost guess that they probably blended one of the drunk scenes was the sober scene, because the earlier stuff, they're so silly and so over the top and really like getting into it. And then it like turns on a dime when he starts to tell the story of the USS Indianapolis.
It's possible. From what I read, it pretty much made it sound like none of the drunken scene shots could be used.
That was my impression as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying that couldn't have possibly happened, but the way it reads when you look it up is that no.
None of them were usable.
Nothing was usable. Now, but where it reads, it could have been just mostly that USS Indianapolis part. And maybe, I mean, it's possible when they were doing the show Me the Way to Go Home, that could have been maybe, but it really doesn't read that way. It pretty much, when you read it, they don't say that they mixed anything from the drunken scenes. They make it sound like they had to completely redo it because it was just so bad.
It was my understanding that none of the footage was used.
Yeah, so
entirely possible. I just thought it, because of the way that it cuts so abruptly, it felt like sobers up real fast.
Well,
but then that could be the really great acting.
yeah. I mean, these are actors. They are.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, I could see where you think that. And if I hadn't read that, I wouldn't feel that. But I'm pretty sure that the way it was written, that, yeah, they couldn't use it. It was so bad. But interestingly enough, so at one point, the actual orca did sink. And with cast and crew on it. And they thought they might have lost the film, everything they filmed up to that point, because it got submerged in the sea. But at that point in time, they had a process using, basically saltwater, salination part to process the film. So they were able to save the whole film because of the way they processed it with actual salt water to get it to, develop. So yay. But the funny thing about it was there's this nice little write-up about how as the boat was sinking, Spielberg was like, save the actors. And one of the sound people was like, fuck the actors, save the sound guy who was already deep in water. And so I think that's a funny little tale. And it was basically an upcoming scene after they've I think put 3 barrels in Jaws, and Jaws had enough of their shit. He starts ramming the boat, and the boat starts taking on water. And to film that scene, they were basically bucking the boat back and forth, which ended up actually breaching the hull.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is why the boat ended up sinking. Oops. And another interesting thing is Spielberg had later said that basically he made a lot of bad mistakes as a director on this movie. It's one of his first, this was before he was a huge director, obviously.
Yeah, before he was Spielberg.
Yeah, this was before Spielberg was really Spielberg. He was becoming a name, but not really a name yet, if I recall correctly, in 75.
Yeah, he did say though that he says that his favorite scene was that when they're sitting around the table and Quint's telling his story.
But amongst the things that he said that was one of his biggest mistakes was, he said his hubris in insisting that it was actually filmed on the Atlantic Ocean instead of a Hollywood film take or a constructed pond or somewhere that could be blocked off, because he said he's like, it was just my pride. For some reason, I just thought that I could control nature to make this movie happen. And he's like, yeah, that was a true rookie mistake, and I won't do it again. But I mean, I kind of wonder. I know they've done so many open sea movies on sound stages and tanks and stuff, but I don't know that if you put them side by side that it would hold up as well as actually filming on the ocean.
Truth.
Well, Titanic was filmed entirely on a soundstage.
I've never watched it.
Well, I'm good. Okay, don't watch
really. So does it hold up to Jaws?
Well, the ending part when it's sinking and stuff. Yes, absolutely. Okay. It's insane.
You have to give me context, Betsy.
Yeah, no. The ending part when it's sinking. The beginning part, no, that's boring. It's a love story and who cares? But the ending part when it's actually sinking is really interesting and really fun and pretty realistic. James Cameron
did a good job.
Psychotic. So he really made sure that it lined up to what it really looked like when it was going down. He read all kinds of stuff on what it would have actually looked like and how it would have worked, and it standing straight up and then breaking in half and then being pulled down. It's very cool. Yeah, but he still almost killed everyone though.
Yeah. So soundstage stuff. I mean, if they do it well,
was that James Cameron nearly killed everyone on the set? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So apparently, it would not have done any advantage.
No, because it got very, very cold and you were very, very wet, and he would leave them there for hours. So he still.
Hubris.
Yeah.
But I wonder too, because this is 1975. So kids, if you're wondering why animatronics and why they didn't do other things, so there's no CGI at this point in time. Basically what you had before this was like claymation, which Clash of the Titans kind of stuff, which I loved, by the way.
I'm a fan, but also
there's like not really green screen at this point either, was there?
That didn't really come into play until I think 77 when Lucas was doing Star Wars, and he was pushing the limits of
what that could do,
that technology at the time.
So basically there wasn't too many options besides training a great white shark, or animatronic.
God, no kidding.
Or, or Ed Wood kind of stuff, like ocean footage.
So I think as much as it was hubris, it probably gave him reasonable results.
Yeah. So, but meanwhile, we now have Jaws attacking the boat, and boat starting to sink, and we have Brody kind of pissed because at some point, Quint going full Captain Ahab has destroyed the radio, so they can't even call for help. So, because he's now obsessed with getting the shark himself, and it's going to be him that brings it in. And they're trying to shoot it with everything. They come up with a plan, a really, really bad plan, which is basically injecting the shark with poison with a huge, needle. But they can only do it if they get it in its mouth, because shark skin's rather thick. So the plan is to send Hooper down in a shark cage, which is just ridiculous when you look at the shark cage versus Jaws, who's been eating entire boats. And he's supposed to stab him in the mouth when the shark comes at him with the poison and thereby kill the shark. So they all know it's a bad plan. They all know it's a bad plan. And basically Hooper is basically like, what other plan do we have? And they're like, don't know.
We ain't got shit.
We have got no other plan at this point. So they lower him down. Jaws comes at it. He hits him once. Hooper drops the fucking poison dart. It's just like the most okay.
Yeah, shark peels open the shark cage like it's a tin of sardines. And, which to the shark is. It's a nice tiny little metal object.
Look, a snack pack. But the upside is that Jaws beats up the cage so bad and it gets so focused and angry at the cage itself that Hooper's able to escape out into the ocean.
Yeah, he jets out and drops to the bottom, pretty much hides in a coral reef.
Yeah, he goes into a reef.
Now, another interesting fact about the scene is originally Hooper was supposed to die, but Spielberg had seen some footage of a shark attacking a cage and getting mad by it. That it was filmed by some Australian divers, and he thought it was so cool seeing the shark just totally go berserk on this freaking cage that he lost all track of the actual food inside it. But he's like, let's do that then. So then Hooper got to survive as a result. Spoiler alert.
Everything on Australia is indeed trying to kill you.
Even the cute things. And if it's not, it just can't because it's too small.
Yep.
But so that plan fails. The shark is still going full force at Brody and Quint. Brain just snapped for a minute there. They, literally don't know first. They're trying to bring the cage up because they see something crazy happening, the way the wire and cable are going around. And of course, as they're trying to pull it up, Jaws is actually kind of sitting on top of the cage at that point.
He's like, nope, this cage is mine. Fuck off.
So of course the whole winch system snaps off and they're trying to rig something so they can get it up. And eventually they pull it up and you see this beat up, bent up cage with no Hooper in it. And they just assume Hooper's dead because why wouldn't you?
Same assumption at that point.
So they're all very sad and they're trying to come up with plan B at this point. But basically what ends up happening is Jaws attacks the boat so badly that he breaks off the aft point of it. And at this point we lose Quint, who ends up sliding into Jaws's mouth, which I felt like they should have given Quint a little more due. Like he should have been able to shoot him in the face or something.
The most you see is he grabs the machete.
Yeah.
That had been stuck in the railing earlier and starts whacking at the shark.
Yeah. But in the end, Quint, who survived the USS Indianapolis sinking in the shark attacks there, gets eaten by Bruce. Well, I'm sorry, Jaws. Bye.
In a bit of a brutal scene. It's the one only grotesque scene in the film.
It's pretty gruesome.
It's the most graphic
you don't get guts, but you definitely see him kind of get bitten in half. And
Yeah, because it's that final bite.
Wow.
Yeah, and you see, the blood and potentially bits
Out his mouth because he's
in Shaw's mouth.
aspirating.
Yeah.
But also at this point in time, and I guess correctly, a compressed air tank. I believe Brody.
Well, it's the
Brody kind of shoves it in his mouth.
Into Jaws's mouth, not into Quint's, because that would be
Not
weird.
into Quint's. Quint's mouth is tiny.
So, but into Jaws's mouth, and it lodges quite nicely in an area where you can.
Like right here.
Jaws is not able to swallow it. It's just stuck in here. Yeah. Kind of like those little things that dentist sticks in your mouth when they're fucking around in there.
And he's like,
I can't get it.
Jaws is like,
Shark is like, I would like to swallow this thing, but I can't. It's large.
A piece of lettuce you can't get.
I need a toothpick.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, the boat is sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking. And poor Brody grabs a rifle, and he actually lost his glasses too. So I'm assuming he was farsighted, because otherwise he should have had a hell of a lot harder time to make that shot. He loses his glasses. Well, he lost them a while ago, actually. Climbs to the top of what would have been the crow's nest, but it's
like the crow's nest, but because they're in the water now, it's like
a kind of nice little sniper
water level.
And just takes aim till he can see. He takes a couple shots, misses a couple, and then finally gets it and shoots the compressed explosive air tank, and it blows up Jaws.
Yep.
Kind of it's a chum himself. Jaws becomes chum.
Shark, whoosh, 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 all over the place.
All gone. And then after a moment of breathing, you see bubbles come up behind some of the boat wreckage. And yay, Hooper reemerges. And he swims over and sees that Brody's still alive and is happy about it. And he's like, hey. Brody's like, hey. And then he's like, Quint. Brody shakes his head.
Nah.
And Hooper looks sad. So then they rig a raft together with some of the air kegs that they had shot into Jaws and a piece of the boat. And they happily kick off into the sunset back towards Amity Island.
Yep.
And then they have a true pandemic moment. And I say this jokingly, because we all know this, where I think Brody asks Hooper what day it is.
Yeah. Time is a flat circle. It's just, who knows
and
what
Hooper
day
says
it is anymore.
Whatever day I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe Wednesday.
Thursday? We don't know. So and
it's like, oh good, the tide is with us.
Yep.
So that they have the tide.
And the credits roll.
Yep.
So all in all, Jaws is actually a phenomenal movie. It still holds up. I would say
up.
The only
definitely.
reason it comes out as dated more than anything is the clothing.
The wardrobe, and frankly,
honestly,
at times it's not that dated.
Yeah, because it's sort of retro now.
Yeah.
But yeah. And also, the normal lookingness of the actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Is also kind of I don't know, now, like the stars nowadays, it's just like uber perfect looking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping in mind that I think that Roy Scheider is very good looking.
Feet and, look normal.
Right. I think Roy Scheider is very good looking, but also Roy Scheider looked like a guy. He just looked like
the actress that played his wife, Ellen Brody, very pretty woman, but crow's feet and
I was gonna say, but a woman, just a woman. Yeah. They did a really good job of casting people who look like people.
Normal people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then almost all the extras were just people on the Cape. So on Martha's Vineyard, they paid them $64 to run about.
Now, weren't we be talking about a real crime?
Yes, there was a true crime tie-in.
Yes, the Lady of the Dunes, a sharp-eyed true crime enthusiast, was kind of doing the math from when they found the body for the Lady of the Dunes, who she was found in a place in Massachusetts that was about 100 miles away from where they shot in Martha's Vineyard. So in Massachusetts, I think it was Bloomington. And she was found horribly murdered. I'm not going to go into details on that, but she's Jane Doe. They've never been able to say who she is. They have not identified her body, who she is. So it's an unsolved case. And a sharp-eyed true crime enthusiast who just happens to be Joe Hill, who is the son of Stephen King. Yeah, author Joe Hill put out a thought because he's like, okay, if she died in September of 1974 and they were filming in July of 1974 on the Cape and she was local, she might be one of the extras. And so he started to kind of scan and
Yeah, because the filming time was ridiculously long. It was slated for like 55 days. And they took
100 and something.
150? Yeah, 3 times as long. So
was it like 3 times as much or something?
yeah.
Absolutely. So he kind of found 1 or 2 people in the beach scenes, one in particular that really looked like her, but then there were like 2 or 3 more that you could kind of see walking past who were also wearing similar clothing to what she was wearing. So his thought was, well, if we could talk to the people who hired the extras, then we might be able to get a name. And that's how they found out that they didn't take any of the names of the extras. They literally just used people who lived on the Cape and paid them like $64 in cash to do this. So they had no names written down of any of the extras on the thing. But the investigator who was looking at it actually did say that this is very logical. And they've been trying to find people who were extras to see if they can find someone who can recognize this woman or any of the women, to get names for the women to see if any of them might match up to the Jane Doe that she is. So it's very interesting, but yeah, this like weird true crime Jaws tie-in that Joe Hill created. It was the blog post from his from 2015 was when he put that out there, and they are still kind of investigating it because it's honestly a pretty good lead that she may be there somewhere because of how close it was in proximity. Almost everybody in that area was in Jaws as an extra, apparently.
So there's your fun fact of the day.
Yep.
Well, with that, I honestly, Jaws is a great movie. I was just gonna say,
Watch Jaws.
it really kind of kicked off a genre.
Oh yeah.
Sequels, not so great, but still fun if you're bored. I recommend Jaws 3D if you want a good chuckle.
God.
Especially if you can actually watch it in 3D.
Because it's even wonderfully more cheesy that way. But yeah. It might make you fear, underwater parks. But anyhow. Another interesting thing is apparently it did set off a rash of people just fearing shark attacks all around for quite a while, hugely just terrified of them. Oddly enough, I've never, even when watching this as a young kid, it didn't really set me off as terrified of sharks. I've always found jellyfish much more scary. They're gross and they sting you and they're everywhere. But, I always figured a shark, well, it's either going to get you or not. So
if you want to be terrified, look up irukandji jellyfish from Australia.
If you know it's from Australia, you just know it's bad and then it's just going to try to kill you.
But yeah, one of Spielberg's first directorial efforts, not the first, but amongst his early work.
Certainly his biggest, or his big,
I'd say launched him. This was the biggest thing he had done to that date, and I think that's what led him to be able to do Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1941.
2 years later.
Yeah, everything that followed started with Jaws, really.
Yeah.
This put him on the map. Because
very young Richard Dreyfuss does an amazing job. Roy Scheider, just phenomenal. Yeah,
wonderful.
And so watch the movie. Tell us if you see the Old Spice label.
Yep.
If you do, and you tell us, we might actually send you a gift.
Ooh.
You never know. Because I have random ass movie memorabilia from horror boxes and stuff.
True. So. Come drink with us. We'll invite you along with a cocktail.
And so what you missed, what we recorded first, was we actually were all together in one place, but we could not work out the sound, as I mentioned earlier. So we might revisit that and work out the sound issues first, so you can see how goofy we are all together, as opposed to on Brady Bunch screens, and might be horrifying in and of itself.
Yeah, we'll try to pair up another cocktail and movie night.
Yes.
Which is another fun thing. So along with Greenlawn Abbey, there's also the Ohio History Center, ohiohistory.org, and they have virtual events called Pleasures of the Cup, that you buy some booze and they give you old-fashioned drinks, and they put together a little old-fashioned fun fact show for you, and you mix up the drinks and you drink with your friends from the safety of your own home, because as you may or may not know, the Delta variant is flying around out there and pretty much causing a upsetting resurgence in cases. So might be best not to go drink at the bar lately.
It's a shark.
It's a shark. Stay off the beach.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Besides,
Get
it's
vaccinated.
it's cheaper to drink at home anyway.
Or get carry out cocktails from your bar so you can still
Mhm.
support
Yes.
them and then drink
Ace
it.
of we recommend Ace of Cups. They do lovely carry out cocktails.
I was gonna say Ace of Cups. Love
Studio
it.
35.
Studio 35.
Also
Condado
good
has
to
really
use
good carry out margaritas.
Mm,
If it
they were supplying the state troopers during the unrests last year.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. Well,
So
they were
give it due consideration.
supplying is kind of too harsh word. They were not
they were
refusing them service.
contracted. Yes, they were not refusing service. They were not giving it to them for free. It was being paid for by the state.
Yeah.
They took the order and fed them.
Now, of course, yeah, that's a whole other story where like some of the workers at Canados did not want to do that work for them considering. And I don't know if how they handled those workers. Like, I'm not sure
Yeah.
if they fired them or not. And that might be
I
the
don't
bad
know.
part, but
I
I
don't
think they
believe
didn't.
I
though.
don't think so.
No, I don't believe they did. They told them they had the right to not make the food, but I don't know. I don't remember. I remember catching a little bit of it, like, and like them coming out and being like, this is what it was. We were not giving them anything.
So,
But
anyway,
there are a lot of bars that are doing some great carry out
yeah.
cocktails now.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're even lucky enough to get like the little umbrellas on top of the cocktails on your carry out ones, which are
Mhm.
great. Yeah. Maybe grab yourself some Ray Rays and some Ace of Cups cocktails. And there you go.
Oh man, Ray.
Yeah.
I know. Now I want Ray Rays. I'm sorry.
all right then. Well, on that note, I'm Jenny.
I'm Rebecca.
Betsy.
This is Girls Ghosts Ghouls, and we were talking about Jaws. And tune in, and we'll have another Babble session on a different movie within a month. Thanks, everyone.
Inevitably.
You go inside the cage. Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark.